Well, we cannot deny that strides have been made in allowing online applications, but as Aviwe explained, there are still long queues, frequent server problems, disinterested staff and also still corruption. Let's discuss this now with our Home Affairs Minister, Dr. Motsoaledi. Thank you so much for your time and thank you for coming into studio, Minister. We really do appreciate it. But we can hear, and we've been listening all day, to the frustration of ordinary South Africans who spend hours and hours in those queues, take entire days off work. Why are the queues still so long?
Thank you, Sally. Yeah, this is a very big problem. Sometimes I get more frustrated than the clients, because one of the reasons that many people have to come so many times is because the system downtown, our systems are always down. You know, at some stage in 2019, we actually put up what you call a war room in Centurion, where the State Information Technology Agency is, SITA. And I saw during the day, the SITA CEO was actually interviewed. We got all the companies that are servicing us in one way or the other, because Home Affairs is using a lot of systems. We got IBM, we got SARS, because we are using some of their systems. We got a company called BBA. We got EOH, which has now been replaced by Gijima. We got the CEOs, not junior people, to sit there and we sent the DDG, who was also being interviewed during the day, to sit there with them and solve this problem. And at some stage, I'm not really very deep in IT technology, but at some stage they said we must upgrade the ESP, or what they call Enterprise Server Bus. This is a system that integrates, all our systems together. The National Population Register, the HANIS, or Home Affairs National Information System, and all the other systems that we use in order to identify you and give you an ID, because this is about identification. Now, these systems are very sensitive, Sally. And I think I've been in government for many, many years, since the dawn of democracy. But I realized that Home Affairs suffers more than any other department, because others can sometimes do without some IT systems. Never Home Affairs, because it has to be about identification. And so anything that happens, Home Affairs department suffer. So after this ESB, I then realized that there are two reasons why our systems can be down. The first and very important reason is nationwide down systems. When the SITA networks are down, because we get our networks from SITA. That's
Sorry,
another
just
thing.
explain, when you say our networks are down, are you talking about load shedding? Are you just explain that to me, because I'm not very technologically proficient. So just
I'm like you.
Simple words, please.
I'm like you. I'm just trying to understand these issues, and this is what I've been told by officials. You see, I'm talking about networks which serve us. The networks like MTN, Vodacom, Telkom, but we don't get them directly from them, unfortunately. In terms of the SITA Act, the law of government, we have got to get them through SITA, which must purchase them, and they must go through them, through SITA, before we get them. So unlike, for instance, SARS.
Right.
SARS is using data dimension systems.
What is SITA? Sorry to interrupt.
SITA is the State Information Technology Agency. It's an agency of the state.
Ah, so that's where the problem...
SOE, if you like.
Can't we circumnavigate them to sort the problem out? Are they the problem?
Exactly, that's my dream. But I'm made to understand that many ministers before me have tried.
So why
Because
can't
the act says so that we have got to purchase through SITA.
Is it a security issue, or why do we have to go through SITA, the State Information Technology?
The act established SITA and said it will be the most efficient way of purchasing ICT services, rather than each department going on their own.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a sort of a way of integrating.
So you're saying that the system needs a massive upgrade, and I don't think anyone's going to disagree with you on that. Is it going to happen? And when is it going to happen?
I said when we put the
Upgrade the IT usage.
Yes,
and the
they said we
integrated
must
system.
upgrade the ESP. We have done so. The ESP is the system which is called Enterprise Server Bus. And as I explained to you...
So when did that get upgraded? Sorry, just to interrupt. When was that
No, it has been upgraded.
So it's clearly there's still a problem because we saw these queues today.
No, I'm agreeing, but I was still trying to
right.
explain to you that that has been upgraded.
So you have made some improvements to the system.
Yes, we have made some improvement to the system, but there are still other problems.
What do you think the heart of the
problem is? And I'm explaining to you that the heart of the problem, which can have, systems down in the whole country, is if SITA networks are unable to cope. The others will be local problems, in which case it will be individual offices that are down. Number one, which people never consider. Any cable theft that takes place anywhere in the country, you're sure to have Home Affairs.
No, I hear you. And I mean, those are the problems that the whole country faces. So it has an impact on Home Affairs as well.
It has got an impact more than other departments. Because other departments can still go on with their work, but never Home Affairs. That's the difference. I'm
with you. So what are we going to do about SITA, Minister?
Hey, I really believe one has to... I understand this matter was once served in Cabinet. And the ruling was that the two ministers of telecommunication and Home Affairs must sit and resolve the problem together. But I really believe, Sally, this is not a problem of two departments. The Ministry of Telecommunication is where SITA is resident. But I don't think it's a problem of two ministries also. It's a countrywide problem for the whole cabinet, because I will tell you what, when Home Affairs is down, the economy can grind down. You can't.
Can I ask
you can't do anything with the banks or do transactions.
Why do Home Affairs offices close at 3:30 in the afternoon? Why don't they work normal office hours? Because surely you've got front of house staff and then you've got staff processing things in the background. So why can't they work a normal day? Add an hour and a half onto their day. That will surely help clear the backlog and clear the queues. Why don't we do that?
All government employees have to work for a particular number of hours. They have to work an 8-hour week. And so
8-hour week?
No, sorry.
8-hour
day, yes, and 40-hour week.
That's the law. 8 in the morning, 8?
So, yeah, the rest is about...
3. That's 7.5 hours.
Yeah, because they actually come earlier than...
I hear you, but surely there's a way...
They come earlier than the period you've mentioned because they've got to do some work, backroom, which you are not seeing.
Can't there be 2 shifts, sir?
And when they... We are trying, Sally. In fact, one of the things I'm dreaming about is to open on Saturdays.
And I think you tried that and you got a lot of pushback, didn't you?
We are having pushback from the unions because they are saying working on Saturday must be overtime. And we pay for overtime. Now, our problem is that...
So how about a double shift system where you get some people that come in at 6 and then other people that work from 10 and they work that 8-hour till 6 o'clock at night?
That's what we want to do. Shift system, that the people who come to work on weekends must not work during the week, for instance. But we're still negotiating with the unions who believe that any work which is done, I understand it was done in the past some years back before I was not even at national government, I understand so. And I think stopping it was a very bad idea. But we're negotiating very hard because then when we have got lots of people, some people working during weekend, they'll relieve. But we are also trying to work with the banks. We're just disturbed by COVID. That most people who are well-to-do have got bank accounts should not come to Home Affairs offices.
So this leads me on to the next thing, and it's something that I spent the better part of my morning working on because I have a 16-year-old. You have a very efficient online service that can work through the banks. You can go and register for your renewed passport or for an ID certificate. But you can only do that if you were born in South Africa. Why is that?
Are you talking about the online service for taking an ID or a passport?
Yeah.
Yes, that is...
E-Home Affairs.
Yes.
Why is it only for those who are born in South Africa?
Well, no. I'm sure
no, I can tell you it's true.
It will confuse me because I was talking about the banks relieving us. by making sure that instead of going to a Home Affairs office, you actually apply through the banks because they are sophisticated. They've got sophisticated systems.
I see. So you
apply online. Yes, you
doing.
apply online.
Okay.
And the banks give you an appointment to come in and take the biometrics.
But that's underway currently, right?
It's underway, but by 2019, when I arrived in Home Affairs, we have only 25 banks involved, and we're increasing them, and we had to stop because of COVID, because most of the banks closed the system. We want to increase it very fast so that many South Africans who have got the capacity to do so can actually get their passport or ID through the bank. That will be very, very fast. The other thing we are doing is we are working with CSIR to look for what we call an access model. Because sometimes you go to an office of Home Affairs, it's full to capacity, and you go somewhere to another office which is empty, and you want to understand what is the flow of people, why people go to this office which is so full, and they don't go to the others. The other thing we are doing is to modernize our offices. You know, Home Affairs have got about 412 offices all over the country, but only half of them are modernized, meaning they've got what you call a live capture, that when you are there, your systems are being captured right in Pretoria, but the others are still manual, unfortunately.
I want to jump in there because I had an experience at the Alex Weinberg office, and I understand that was the one of the Home Affairs office where there was a pilot project done a few years ago to completely upgrade the system. And for a while, it was an astonishingly efficient Home Affairs office, and it was an actual pleasure to go there. But the last time I went, they didn't have a working printer, so they couldn't print out any documentation. I gave them one more try, and there was a very angry pushback to people waiting in the queue for hours who wanted to try and get in before the cutoff. I'm wondering how much of your problems are corruption linked, where people are stealing equipment, or is it just inefficiency, where equipment is not working, things have not been modernized, as you say?
Well, as I said, there are offices which have not yet been modernized. They still issue the old barcoded ID. Remember, we are issuing what do you call
the smart ones,
a smart card. But and those offices who can't give you a smart card can also not issue a passport. It's a problem of modernization, but we're still going on. But the issue of corruption, Sally, I'm not going to stand here in front of you and the whole nation and deny there is a lot of corruption in Home Affairs, and it's one of the things that we are working around the clock to fight. As I was listening to the day, they were saying, some people were saying there's nothing we can do about it. I don't believe so.
So what do you do about it?
True.
What can we do about it?
Yes, we have to do something. For instance, you might have heard that I've already announced, after noticing over the past 2 years that we've got an anti-corruption unit, by the way, in Home Affairs, that 2/3 of the problems anti-corruption units are dealing with are the issues of permits, where corruption is endemic, giving people permits, permanent residence, work visas. Permits are also called visas. So I have put up a team, very strong people, headed by the former DG. We've given them 3 months to review all the permits that have been issued since 2004, when the Immigration Act came into effect. This is because when the anti-corruption unit is doing its work, it discovered that most of these things are actually about permits. But for instance, the statistics that we have, in 2019-20 financial year, there were 289 reported cases of corruption. 236 have been completed, 56 are still on. Some take a long time. In 2020, 2021, of course, because, as you know, some of our services were closed, there were 189 cases of corruption, 94 were completed, we're left with 95. And some people have already been dismissed.
Yeah, so
yes,
you're making slow progress. I think the problem with the corruption issue is that corruption thrives when there's an inefficient system at play, because even normally law-abiding citizens might be tempted to pay someone to get a smart ID because the system doesn't seem to be working. You've explained your concerns about the IT system and trying to fix things within the system so that those queues just don't continue. I want to move on to staff morale. There's also, I mean, I would imagine it can't be an easy job if you're working at Home Affairs, and by the time the person who's been queuing from 4 in the morning actually gets to the counter at sort of 12 o'clock, the person who's been queuing must be in a furious mood. But also the people behind the screen must also find it difficult to deal with that level of negativity. But what are you doing to restore pride in Home Affairs offices? And I'm asking you, how are you going to take those cases? And there are success cases. There are people who, in prepping for the show tonight, people who said, you know, I got my ID quickly. I got my daughter's birth certificate quickly. And it was wonderful. And we celebrated. What we want is for that to become the norm. What lessons can you take from where it is working in terms of staff morale and efficiency, and how are you going to spread that out across all the branches?
You know, Sally, I believe perhaps the manner in which we have been regarding Home Affairs in South Africa is wrong. You know, I'm looking at health. Before you can become a nurse, there's a training college for you. I'm looking at police. Before you can become a policeman, there's a training college for you before you become a soldier.
Sure.
All these people are saving society.
Right.
The weakness in Home Affairs is that I believe they are performing the same function, but we just take people. They are regarded as clerks, and they believe they will learn.
Better training.
Yes.
Better training.
Yeah.
Okay.
Home Affairs have to have a Home Affairs college specifically to train them. Let me give you a good example.
I'm going to stop you there purely because we're running out of time. So you're saying, to restore pride in being a civil servant, have a Home Affairs college. I want to get a commitment from you on this issue of the server. You've identified it yourself as a problem. How soon are we going to see a difference? Is there a plan to fix it, or is it just going to continue rolling on being a problem where we're all going to give up? Fix the problems in IT where we see the service going down.
One of the weaknesses is that Home Affairs need a CIO.
Okay, give me a deadline, because I'm going to push you now for deadlines on when things are going to get better.
No. I was just trying to talk to you that we need an expert called the CIO.
Right.
The Chief Information Officer. That's an IT expert. Sally, I've already interviewed twice, not finding a suitable person. And we interviewed for the third time. We are waiting for the Department of Public Service and Administration to submit it to Cabinet to appoint such a person who we believe is an expert, like the experts in private sector.
So
we don't have that in government. Who will know immediately?
You need someone to lead this project.
Yes.
What sort of deadline are you giving yourself to find that right person?
No,
are you talking
I
a couple
told
of
you
weeks,
that we've interviewed
yes, you
3
told me.
times, and finally we are waiting because we have submitted to the Department of Public Service. That person is to be appointed by Cabinet because he's very senior. Can be appointed by Home Affairs.
How long do you expect to wait for that announcement?
Sorry?
How long are they going to take, do you think?
Well, it depends. When you appoint senior government officials, people believe you just peak.
You know, it strikes me that you get hamstrung by all the red tape. At what point do you go and start shouting at people? Because you come across as measured and calm, but it's also an incredibly frustrating job that you have. Do you think you need to start throwing your toys here?
Well,
do you already?
I prefer to be cool and just
does it get results?
Sometimes phone around, talk to people very nicely, because I don't think it will help throwing toys. But that doesn't mean it's not strict. I phoned some of these officials personally, and I called some of them. For instance, last week, I received a message from a very irate customer who was saying, I've written a letter to this and this section, and I never got any response.
Yeah.
So I called the director involved and said, can you explain this? And I gave a warning that, look, today I've called you, next time there will be action. Because you have got to respond to people.
Yeah.
You have got to make sure that...
the reality is sometimes it's a matter of life or death. And being denied those important documentations has a massive, massive impact on people's lives.
I think, Sally, the country and maybe the state who have not yet appreciated that Home Affairs is number one, a security department. Number two is without Home Affairs, the security of the country is compromised, the economy is compromised, the social systems are down, and I think we need to appreciate that. That's why I think we need a special college to do something like that.
You know, Minister, I am way out of time, but I have to ask you a question about border concerns. I want to play a clip from my colleague Siphamandla Goge, who crossed over the border very easily, saw people. In fact, he was watching people crossing the border. Let's play that clip, and then I want a quick comment from you.
If they continue to come illegally, we will continue to go for them and make sure that we arrest them.
Barely hours after this tough talk from the South African Deputy Minister of Home Affairs on Monday, illegal border jumping continues unabated at Burdett. Jumpers use a ladder, something known to South African authorities and law enforcement. They are also desperate enough to wade into crocodile-infested Limpopo River. The crossings are happening both into and out of South Africa.
All right, so that was strong words from an official in February. Days later, it carries on. What has been done to stop this illegal border jumping since February?
That is the Deputy Minister, actually, of Home Affairs, and I've seen some of these things they are showing there. That ladder they are talking about is very unfair, Sally. I was there in Musina, I saw it. Why the people go through the ladder. They never make it. The people who are doing that, they never make it through, because there's an army which has been deployed next to where they are, but they keep on trying, because this is out of desperation from what's happening in neighboring countries, especially in Zimbabwe. I've seen people.
So are you saying that our reporter got it wrong there?
Sorry?
Are you saying our reporter got it wrong there? Because that whole journey was tracked, is my understanding.
I never said they got it wrong. I said some of the people are showing going down the ladder, they never make it.
Okay.
Because they go down the ladder just to cross the river, but there is still a space. They must travel to the fence with South Africa, and the army is waiting for them there. But I'm not saying anybody's lying. I'm just saying some of the things you see there may not be what they are, but you are aware that this issue of border jumping, Parliament has been seized with it for a better part of 10 years when they were debating the Border Management Authority. And now it has been passed. We are busy implementing it, but we are still a long way.
Give me a
where we must use...
Give me a deadline, Minister.
A deadline for what?
When it's going to be resolved, when we're going to see significant difference on this matter.
No, well, I don't think it will be fair to say it will stop by this time. It's going to be a process.
Significant difference?
No, it's going to be a process. For instance, we agreed that in order for it to be resolved, you don't need Home Affairs officials who are sitting here in Pretoria. You need a commissioner for border management whose job is to deal with borders in the same way as a commissioner of police is dealing with crime in the country. We have now appointed an acting commissioner. We are going to appoint 2 deputies for that commissioner. Their job is to deal with the borders on a full-time basis.
You're going to have to hold them to account. How soon do you expect results?
Of the results of people not coming in.
Yeah, how soon do you expect to see a difference? I just want a deadline.
Well, look, Sally, I think you are being very unfair to me. We are dealing here of social and economic systems.
No, I'm just
asking all
if
depends
you're setting something up to make a difference, I want to know when you expect to see signs of change.
I can only tell you when we are going to set up these systems. As to when the signs of change come in, I'll be lying to you, because it depends on many factors. For instance, part of what's happening in our neighboring countries, hunger, joblessness, etc., that make people so disparate. So you can't just put a blanket and say on this day people are not going to be coming to South Africa. That will be grossly unfair. But I'm telling you, when we are going to establish Border Management Authority, we have already drawn up a program that we need to use drones and other technologies around the borders. Remember, the borders during apartheid were electric fence, it was the army and all that, which we all removed because we thought we were a democracy. And we now realize we made a terrible mistake by removing those and replacing them with nothing. And now we have agreed we are going to replace them with the Border Management Authority, which is being established, as I said. The president had just signed into law.
Well,
in January this year, we appointed the acting commissioner. We are busy with the process of appointing 2 acting commissioners. They must be appointed by the president, just like the commissioner of police and SARS. And that is a process that is on.
All right. Well, I hope that you come back to us as soon as you can report some positive change. I can see lots of processes underway. I want to thank you very much for coming into studio. Thank you very much, Home Affairs Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi. Not the easiest job in the country, I will say.